Welcome back, everybody. Josh Friedman with you from Chicago. We have reached the home stretch here of Sports Tech Nation 2021. We have just a couple more panels, but before we get to those, our final keynote speaker of the day, and our man Oren is going to be welcoming her. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Laila Mintas, the board member of Play Up.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hello, Laila. You know the word Laila in Hebrew is night, and you are in Vegas. I'm in Tel Aviv. Over here it's Laila, and over there we say morning. It's Boker. So good morning for you, and good evening, almost good night for us. And thank you, Josh, for the presentation and the welcoming.
Thanks so much for having me, Oren. Great what you guys put together, and very excited to be part of that.
Yeah, so we've been running almost, 10 hours. This is our second day in a row for the Sports Tech Nation, the gathering, fourth year of Sports Tech Nation 2021. And what could be more happy than having this conversation here, an open conversation with you, Laila, that's on my behalf, so humble. You did such an amazing things. You research, you establish, you build. So let's start with an informality, but tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm originally from Germany and started off as a lawyer, worked with White & Case, one of the biggest law firms worldwide, and wrote my PhD about sports betting via the internet. So long time ago, not aging myself here. And because of that PhD that's published as a book, I got an offer from FIFA. So I joined FIFA to run their sports integrity unit. After that, moved on to CONCACAF, also soccer for people that don't know CONCACAF, the soccer administration body for North America, Central America, and the Caribbean. Did basically the same as at FIFA, looking into sports betting data, analyzing that, and looking for irregularities that could be linked to match manipulation cases. In both jobs, I worked hand in hand in close coordination with sports betting operators. So that was basically my entry card to get close to the sports betting space. And then afterwards, I got an offer from Sportradar to build their US business. And when I left Sportradar after being there almost 3 years, we had a market share of 85% of data in the US. And from there on, there was nothing to win for me personally anymore. So I was looking for my new venture. We hit a valuation of 2.6 billion. That was when I went out there and moved on and basically moved from New York to Las Vegas, invested in a company called Betworks, just sold that last year to Bally's on a 125 million valuation, and in parallel start building Play Up from scratch, which is a sports betting and iGaming platform here in the US and overseas in Australia. So originally an Australian one. And just as of today, board member at PlayUp, and out there looking always for innovation in the space. And it's been a very interesting journey with the sports betting market opening up in the US. Obviously, so many moving pieces and opportunities in the market and the tech side. And what always fascinated me was looking for sports and technology and how that can help creating a much nicer, seamless user experience.
So with that saying, I've been in Vegas. It was pre-COVID, January 2019, and people were talking about sports betting, and it's going to be big. And I remember I went to see the Knights playing. They did quite well at the beginning, and then they lost for the guys from Canada, from the Toronto Maples. But it was an amazing experience. And I saw one of the defense of the Knights, the hockey team. He says, "I'm gonna bet. This is exciting. I know that we're gonna lose today." He lives in Vegas. "I know that we were gonna lose for the Canadian, but I'm gonna bet on my team." How do you see today the impact of sports betting on sport in terms of supporting sports with the growth of investments and the buzz around it. And we know that giants like William Hill said it's nice to be in Europe, but we see the opportunity in US and many.
I couldn't be more excited being in the middle of a legalized sports betting market here in the US. I've been in sports betting since 2006. And first on a global level over the last 10 years, more focused on the US market. So overall, what we have always to keep in mind, the US market is only developed or only legalized for around a bit more than 3 years. So we're
Right.
still very early in history. If we're looking into Europe and Asia and more mature markets, in comparison to that, we see some innovation that happens over there that's not here yet in the US. At the same time, we see things that are different and developing much faster here in the US in comparison to Europe. So overall, I think it is an interest. It's very interesting to compare all those markets and how they develop. What's sure is that the US will become the biggest legalized sports betting market in the world. There are different estimates. Some people say 40 billion, others say 60. To give you an estimate or kind of like comparison, in the UK, which is the most mature market in Europe, the kind of like volume of the market is around 3 billion. Compare that to the 40 to 60 billion that we are seeing in the
Wow.
US, that the
Wow.
US is set to become. It's just it's a different beast, right?
So if we see the business opportunity, let's talk maybe about the global potential technology opportunities. What are the buzzwords or the trends that you hear and see? Because I guess that a lot of startups approach to you as an ex-CEO and a board member, as someone that were in the industry before people named this industry actually. And you've came from big organizations, from the theory and research and big organization up to practical life and building companies and selling companies. What do you see in the market in terms of trends?
So I see a lot of things that, I mean, first of all, it's very interesting that sports gets more hands-on. So initially, as you know, before PASPA was repealed in the US, sports tried to avoid that betting gets legalized nowadays, which is, I think, the right way, is that sports organizations trying themselves to get into the market and become market access, as we call it. So basically a foot into the door to open to get involved in sports betting and find a partner that they can work together to offer sports betting. So they're not trying to do it themselves, but through partnerships. And that opens up a big opportunity for sports to get additional funding, additional revenue streams through sponsorship, opportunities, etc. We see many different players looking into getting into the space. Think of Fanatics, for example. They're not necessarily a sports betting brand,
Right.
but they obviously have a big footprint in the sports environment. So they're looking to monetize now their assets. And there are many other companies out there like that. Also, in terms of technology, there's so much more that needs to happen. I used to run Sportradar's US business. So there's a lot of things that, from my perspective, personal perspective, could get developed in terms of data collection. How does data collection works nowadays? Why do we have still people using manual devices basically to collect data? Why is there not automation or more automation? So the whole tracking data and data analytics side is very interesting, and that's where tech will make a big difference over the next couple of years. But coming back to sports betting, also enabling a watch and bet experience. Like in Europe, you have one app, you watch your game on the app, and you're able to place a bet through the same app. We don't necessarily see that in the US yet. There's some solutions out there, a company called Tap, for example, that is developing and innovating in that direction. But overall, there's not much happening at the moment.
There are waves in the market in terms of the people approach the definition of sports betting and so on. Maybe their perspective in the US is a bit different, but you also have a European angle. How do you see the brand around sports betting? Do people approach sports betting in a way of saying, we do sports betting, but it's not actually betting, it's more fantasy? How do you see it actually? People are saying we do sports betting early stage, late stage, or VCs, because we know that many of the LPs, the investors in the VCs, they don't want on their agenda to invest in sports betting or in betting in general. How do you see it around sports?
I think that opens up a big opportunity for gamification products as well, and we don't see many of them. But yeah, you're right. There's still a little bit of stigma sometimes around sports betting. Certain investors are saying we don't want to touch it. But then at the same time, with those high valuations that you see in the US, more and more investors get into the space because it's a market where you can make a high multiplier just within a few months or years. So it's a big upside for investors, and that's why you see more and more investors coming into that space as well, from overseas, but also within the US.
So practical question, we have few geeks, we put the word NFT Web3, we say sports betting and $10 million valuation. What's your perspective on that?
I wish it would be so easy, but you're right. I mean, there's certain keywords, buzzwords. The NFT space is obviously very interesting. The crypto space is very interesting. There are so many other things happening around the sports betting market. At the same time, there are also the challenges with sports books to make actually money in the market. So you have to have a differentiating product. You have to have the best technology, and it ties back to our conversation about innovation and technology and how important that is, especially in a young, dynamic industry like we have here in the US, and how you can disrupt the current landscape through just having the best product from a tech perspective in the market. Overall, I think esports is also a very fast growing market, offering esports betting as well, which we did with my former company, PlayUp. So I think there are a lot of opportunities in the market. If you look into the regulations, more and more states in the US start regulating the markets. Over 30 states have decided to legalize sports betting. Many markets initially didn't allow esports betting. The newer states that have now opened up for sports betting, they all allow esports betting. So we see that the trend on esports is there, and then overall the trend to use more technology to have a seamless experience for your audience.
And maybe to jump now on a personal question and a last question to wrap with that. So you're best in Vegas, right?
Yes.
And we were talking about their perspective, and we know that a lot of people moved to Vegas, a lot of people moved to Miami during the last year and a half. Um, Work hard, play hard, work-life balance, and so on. So, how is it to be involved, such I would say, in a deep way in technology, in management, in leading, being one of the, on my opinion, leading figures in our industry, in the tech industry in general? How is it to be part of it, but still to be in Vegas? How is the ecosystem over there, and how is it in general?
We have very great initiatives here that deal with tech and sports, tech and gaming. Overall, I would say that Nevada wasn't necessarily in a situation to innovate so much over the last couple of years before PASPA was repealed, because Nevada had the monopoly on sports betting in the US. So there was no need for those big giants in the market to really have the best technology, because if you have the monopoly, you can do whatever you want, but have to come and play with you because
True.
there's no alternative. However, we see that that has changed over the last 3 years, and there's more innovation happening, improvement of technology, etc.
Actually, we see it at the UNLV, which they opened actually a research center around gaming over there, the university guys. So well done for them. Something to end with? I don't know, Laila, a liner for us. You know, I'm gonna sleep in 2 3 hours. You're gonna start your day. I saw your children over there touring the house, so we're not gonna keep you too busy. I know you have a full agenda, but one liner for the end.
Oh, good. I can only repeat how exciting it is to be in the middle of all of that in the US. And there's so many opportunities out there, so many moving pieces. And I think it's an industry over here that is just at the beginning. So it's too early to say who are the winners, who are the losers. And in order to determine that, I strongly believe that technology will make a big difference.
Amazing. Thank you for this open conversation. And again, for your time. Enjoy the day. And Laila Mantis, Dr. Laila
Thank you
Mantis.
so
Thank you
much.
very
Good to
much.
see you.